started. Okay, first and foremost, خلينا we will continue with a new topic today. اللي هي continuation للأشياء اللي حكينا عنها. We talked about Python. So last time we talked quickly about if-else, mathematical operations, how to declare a variable, how to interact with variables, how to write a simple Python code, how to work with Colab. It's the same way. I created a Jupyter notebook again with Colab. I saved it in my OneDrive. I will download it and upload it again to the e-learning. Today we'll continue. We'll talk about basics of strings. A string stands for a string of characters. So here it's just a sort of abbreviation for a string of characters. That means we do have characters. We concatenate them together, we append them to each other, and then we create this string. The string is basically text, something that we use either to print headers within our table, just printing statements just to show some hints, like interaction with the user. So we will use a string and we will learn how to manipulate and deal with a string. First and foremost, we'll declare a variable. Let's just call it a drug. This variable is of type string. We agreed last time in data type of a specific variable will be decided based on the first assignment. So the assignment or how we deal with a string, we agreed last time we will enclose it between double quotation. So this is a string, and we can use between or enclose it within single quotation. So both are correct. However, what we decided last time, if you wanted to use one, just be consistent with it. Nothing wrong with the first or the second one. Just be consistent. Now, for example, I do have like a medication in here. Amoxicillin, and like the form is a capsule. So again, I'm trying to be consistent in here. So I'm using double quotation most of the time. And we have the batch ID. For instance, we just use VATCH-2026, or let's say 2024. It was manufactured 2024, and the batch sequential number is 07. So now this is how we created and used. So this is the creation. We'll just call it declaration of strings and how to use them. So we declare three-string variables, and in most of the cases or most of the programming languages, we call them objects. Now, if I run the code, nothing will happen because I do not have any printing statements. So I'll just go and add one more cell. As you can see, I'm trying to add more cells to make my code is clean. Now, some of the conventions that you'll see I do, and before and after any operator, I leave a space. So this is a convention for readability, just to read the code much better. It's not something that's mandatory. So whenever I'm using mathematical operators, I try to leave a space before and after. Now, let's just create a label for this drug. So we'll declare a variable, we'll call it label. And this label will be the drug plus the form. So we'll just use drug plus, and plus in this case is, we call it concatenation. Concatenation. So you are trying to concat the strings. Now what happens is I just declared this variable. I put the value in it is the concatenation. This is just to print the content of it. Now you can see it came all together without any space. So I'll just add a space in between. To add a space, I will use plus, and then in between I will use double quotation, open them and close them, and add a space. Now I run it again, and you can see that the space has been added. One thing I wanted you to know, when we deal with a string, everything that's within a string is counted. Like, for example, if you are using punctuation, if you are using comma, if you are using space, if you are using tab, if you are using anything like this, it will be added and displayed and being used actively. So, for example, this code, I did not leave a space in here. If you leave 2, 3, 5 spaces, nothing will happen. But within a string, no, it will be counted and it will be used as you see it in here. Now, I've taken this, and as I said, if it's the last sentence in the Jupyter notebook, it will be printed automatically, so I can just use print. Now, let's add one more cell. let's just take like a dosage milligram. So if I take the dose in milligram, and let's assume it's 500 milligrams. Now, this is an integer. So it's an integer value. So we call it integer. And the integer is any number that does not have any fractions. So it can be either positive or negative. Or negative. Okay, so we do have either positive or negative, and this is an integer without any fractions. Now, if I wanted to go and print this number, I can use the print statement. And let's say I'm printing a drug. What's your drug name? And I wanted to print the drug. You remember last time we talked about either you can use comma to print the values, or you can use the F, like the character F before the double quotation. And then within your string, you can enclose anything with these curly parentheses. So these parentheses, we call them curly parentheses. So I use the curly parentheses in here, and let's just say I'm using drug. We called it drug, right? Yeah. So I can use the drug in here, and then, for example, leave a space. I wanted to use the dose, so I just add a comma, and we will use the dose, comma, space, and remember that we declared the variable, we call it dose in milligram. And I wanted to add milligram at the end, so you can just say mg. Now you can see this mg is outside of these curly parentheses. So therefore it will be printed as is. Let's just try to print it. Now I do have a drug as is. The drug as variable, so it has been printed the content of the variable. Dose, because it's enclosed between these double quotation, the beginning and the end, and they are outside of the curly parentheses, it will be printed as is. And then I have the dosage milligram. It's an integer variable that we declare the top in here, and it has been printed. Then we have milligram, and we added mg. We wanted also to print the, let's say, batch. And the batch that we have, we declared batch ID. Enter. Now when you print it, you will see the full string. Now we have learned how can we first combine or concatenate a declared string, how we can concatenate it. The next one is how to use the something we call F string. So this F string is the closest to embed variables. So you are trying to embed these variables within your string, and then you print them. One other point is, or one other thing that we would like to also talk about is how can I convert the case in here? So this starts with uppercase, capital letter A, but I wanted to convert everything to uppercase. So what I can do is I can just use a print drug and then dot. Now when you use this dot notation, you hit dot, it will display a few things for you. If they disappear, you can hold Control on your keyboard, the Control button, and space. Control and space, it will show you this IntelliSense, so which is the help. And you can scroll within your keyboard up and down and see, for example, I wanted to convert everything to lowercase or uppercase. So I'll just go and use upper. Open and close parentheses and print it. Now everything will be converted to uppercase. I'll just copy it, paste it, and I want to convert everything to lowercase. So sometimes what happens is you do have amoxicillin within your data, and your data includes some text and information in an Excel sheet. Now, this Excel sheet, when you are dealing with uppercase and lowercase, or even mix, or title case, for example, let's just see the title case. What happens is the computer understands the letters as numbers. So the uppercase is different than lowercase. The capital is different than the lowercase. So therefore, you wanted to normalize your data and make sure that all of your data either uppercase or lowercase. Try to avoid mixing them, especially when you are processing data. And you will see in part of our experiments, we will deal with values like this string data or string or text. Text is longer text, like this is text, like a longer string. Now, when you are dealing with this with text, computer differentiates. So these three are different for the computer. In your analysis, no, they are the same. So how do you unify it? How do you use them to be the same? So you have one of two options. Either you convert everything to upper or everything to lower, apply your analysis, and boom, you are good to go. Now, let's learn more about other methods that you can use with a string. Last time we learned about len. So len will provide me with the length of your string. How many characters do I have within my string? So the string is amoxicillin. If you count the number of characters that I have in here, the character will be one printable thing on your keyboard. So for example, if you press 0, 1, A, B, at, $sign, all of these are considered to be characters. So they can be numbers, they can be alphabets, uppercase and lowercase, they can be any special character. We call these as characters. Now, the number of characters within the word drug, we do have 11 characters. So you can use len to print to use it. I can do, for example, len of drug name, and I can declare a variable in here and just assign it to the value of len drug. And I can either print the actual len automatically, or I can just go with the len of the drug name. So both of them are providing me with the same results. You can also try to identify what, like, do I have substring within this string? So to identify if there is a substring or not, you can just use the keyword n. For example, I wanted to declare a variable, I will call it check sub str, and this variable, I will just assign it to the following value. I wanted to see if the word cillin is part of the variable drug. So I use the n. So now what I'm trying to do in here, I said if the cillin, CILLIN, is part of this string. So this will be, the value in here will be either true or false, and it will be saved in this check substring. Let's just print the value, and we know that this check substring will return true. Let's try something else. I can just instead of declaring variable, I can just use it automatically in here. If I do not want to declare a variable and save it in a variable, I can just say cillin is cillin within drug. We agree it's true, but let me just add E in here. So this will return false. Now you can also, let's see in the form, what's the form that I'm using? And these are very helpful when you are dealing with if condition. If you remember the if statement that we dealt with last time, we'll talk about it again. Now you can just say tablet is tablet in form. The result is false. Now remember tablet in here. Am I using tablet as uppercase or lowercase? Let's try. For example, let's just try this one. I'll try the same example. And I wanted to show you that uppercase and lowercase are different now. So this is true. It's telling me that cillin, if I convert this to C uppercase, now it tells me false. Why? Because C in here is uppercase. And remember that within the drug name, we use the drug name starts with uppercase and the rest of it is lowercase. So how can I solve this problem? I can just say, convert this to lower and this to lower. And now compare them together, it will be always true. So I can just, like, for example, let's try the same thing. I'll just use a zigzag. This is L, this is I uppercase, and this is N uppercase. Now this will return true as well. So this is one trick why we need uppercase and lowercase in our case. And it's very important, as I mentioned, we will use it for cleaning the data. So we need to learn how we can clean our data before we use it, so it will be ready to be used. And this is type of cleaning, unifying and using the same thing again and again to make sure it's we are consistent. Because when you are dealing with your data, you do not know who filled up your data, and they may have made mistakes. Let's try something else, like within row. Let's take a row, and our row is the metformin. Metformin. As you can see, I just typed it in uppercase and lowercase. So this is a messed up format. So I wanted to print it. Let's just print it. This is the row. As you can see, it's messed up. I wanted also to mess it up even further. I just added spaces in here. Print it again. The spaces has been added. You can see them in here. And if you are now trying to compare, you can convert it to lower. This will solve the problem. But how can I remove the spaces before and after? So these spaces before and after, how can I do this? I can use a function. Let's just declare a new variable. We'll just call it clean row. And this clean row, we will assign it first to row. And I will print in here the row. Now you can see it's the same. The very first thing that I'll just try to use lower or upper. It's the same. Now it's sorry, I'm printing clean in here. You can see this has cleaned it up a little bit better. I wanted to see it in the format of a title, so I'll just use title. Now you can print it. It's a good title, no matter how it has been typed in, but I still have the spaces. Now, if you wanted to remove the spaces, there is a function, because this is a common problem, like none or extra spaces. Now, what I've done in here, I just used a function called the strip. Strip will strip out or remove the prior and the after spaces. So to remove the spaces before and after. So you can see in here, now I do not have any spaces. So someone is asking about the previous example. Which example is not clear? Lina, which one?
دكتور يعطيه العافية. اللي عند لما بلشنا بالسلن هاي كلها مش مفهومة صراحة.
When we started with the string من هون؟
لا هذا اللي فوق مفهوم. من عند السلن لما بلشنا الأبر واللور مفهوم. أيوة لحد هون. شيك كثير. اللي فوقيه. بلش.
This one?
أيوة من هون.
Sure, absolutely. طيب هون ايش اللي صار لنا؟ What we are trying to do هون أخذنا الword selling. So for example, you wanted to capture, to my understanding, sometimes how you decide upon a specific drug, they have the same suffix. They are with the same family if they have the word selling. So I know that these are antibiotic, for example. So what I'm trying to do is I do have a list of drugs, and I wanted to find out which drugs they have within their name the selling. So I can tell this is, for example, antibiotic or not. Or try to predict or get an initial assessment if this is antibiotic or not. So what we have used in here, I took the string that I wanted to compare. Like for example, I do have 10 students in here. I do have 4 أسماءكم موجود فيها 4 أسماء. Like for example, Lina, Qasim, Abdullah, Rababa. So I do have your name with 4 names. I wanted to find out every individual person within our classroom who have their name contains Muhammad. So I can take the names and type instead of Salan Muhammad, and then try to find out every single person. Do you have Muhammad within your name? If yes, I will apply something. If no, I'll apply something else. And this is what we have done. We created a variable and we said, just double check, is Muhammad within the student's name? Now, this one, I used it between double quotation because I wanted to match it or find it within this drug. So I used Selim or Muhammad to find it within a specific person's name. But then I printed the results. The results in here will be either if Muhammad is within your name, it will return true. If it's not, it will return false. فاجي أخذت Selim هون I searched for it within drug. This one have found it, so it printed true for me. This one I added E at the end. So this one doesn't exist. Selin with E is not part of amoxicillin. I think we used amoxicillin. Yeah, it's not part of amoxicillin. So therefore it printed false لأنه في عندي E. Tablet تذكر الform كان capsule عندنا هون. Then I wanted to see was the form tablet. طلع لي false. لا هي capsule. لحد هون are we good؟ So we said this
هي
one will be useful. Go ahead.
هلا أنا فهمت شغلة إنه هي أول وحدة إنه if إنه كلهم من نفس الفاميلي أو نفس الجروب. أوكي. هلا
One use of it.
الثانية
Yes.
أوكي اللي بعدها اللي هي penicillin in drug هي إيش؟
هاي هسه أنا I added something to show you شو راح يكون ال results إذا أنا بستخدم something like is not part of drug. I use MOH.
يعني الإي إيش اختلفت يعني هي؟
هسه إحنا أموكسيسيلين هون وينها؟ فيش فيها هذا is not the substring of it. Sorry. Like amoxicillin, CILLINE. Is it part of amoxicillin?
يس يعني هلا صارت مفهومة.
في هون. Yeah, it's not part of it.
اوكي
بنفس
لا هلا صارت
الطريقة
مفهومة.
tablet. Okay, perfect. It's the same story in here. What I've done, I tried to use something. It's the same. CILLNIN. Sorry, CILLIN. It is part of amoxicillin. However, C هون uppercase, but one C is lowercase. So I tried to match them. A map, like find if it's a substring similar to what we've done in here. هذا طلع لي false. So I said, okay, but it is part of it. But there is a problem in here. Someone typed in the C uppercase instead of lowercase. I said, okay, let's try to fix this problem. How do we fix it? We use a function called lower. Lower will convert everything within this string. Now, if you try to print it, it will be CILLIN or lowercase. فحولت هاي lowercase, just to make sure everything is lowercase, I converted also the drug to lowercase. Now I tried another example. I converted C to uppercase, L to uppercase, I to uppercase, and N to uppercase. And then converted the drug to lowercase, converted this to lowercase, and now they have been founded and mapped correctly. Even though someone else was typing them مرة uppercase ومرة lowercase. Does that make sense?
الدكتور اللي مرة upper ومرة lower ممكن تريدها؟
Yeah. So احنا قلنا ان الكمبيوter, our programming language, it does care about the case of the letter. So if you use it as lowercase is saved differently, different than uppercase in the computer. So if you try to map this C uppercase with the C in here lowercase, they will not map. So the computer will assume they are not the same. تمام? Now, what I've tried to do in here, like let's assume you downloaded data. With data تبعتك you have amoxicillin, but you do have someone who was typing one time uppercase and one time lowercase like this. Now you are trying to find out any drug that has cillin in it. But the keyword or the original data does have it one time uppercase and one time lowercase. Now to make sure that they are all lowercase so I can map them, I used dot lower, and this will convert this one to lowercase, and then I can map it with this as lowercase. Does that make sense?
يعني هيك المفروض هي تطلع false مش true. مش هي لازم تكون يعني إنه كله صح؟
Yeah, بس أنا هون I converted it to lowercase. So now it will take this one, it will convert it C lowercase, I lowercase, L lowercase, I lowercase, L lowercase, I lowercase, and N lowercase. Okay. And then it will take this amoxicillin, second part, have the drug dot lower. It will convert this one to lowercase as well. يعني إذا بدي أجي أشوف هذا, this one. So this one means and no, it will convert your string, all of it will be lowercase like this. This is the meaning of this, or the meaning of this piece, and it will convert everything to lowercase as well. So this one will convert everything into lowercase, so to be CILLIN. Now, the results of this one is cillin. The results of this one is amoxicillin, or lowercase. Now we are trying to see, is this part of this? Yes, it's in here. So therefore, it will return true. Does that make sense? Are we good? Okay, perfect. Thank you. طيب نشوف the next example was with these spaces. So we remove the spaces. If you see when I double click at the space, I do see some dots in here, like highlighted gray out dots. They are telling me that there are 4 spaces in here. There are 6, 7 different spaces in here. Now, I imagine this is within a file and you have thousands of them. You wanted to clean them up, you can use this strip. Strip will remove the spaces before and after. Now, when I printed this, it removed the spaces before and after, and then I told it just convert this to a title case. For example, I can just add a space in here and just say this is drug number 3. Now, when I convert it to title case, what will happen is, okay, of course, it will remove just the beginning and the end. In the middle, no, it will keep them as they are. Like I have a space in here, space in here, space in here. They will stay as they are. 3T will be converted to uppercase. N will uppercase, D uppercase, M is uppercase, and the rest will be lowercase. Now, metformin, drug number 3. Now you can see that it converted everything to converts everything to a title case. Now, let's assume you are reading a full text line like this one, and you wanted to split it. You wanted to take every single character separately. Let's look at, I think we have a batch ID. In the batch ID, I do have the word batch, then the year, and then the sequential number. I wanted to split them into 3 parts. Let's imagine you have 5,000 drug batch IDs, and you wanted just to extract the year and the serial number and put them in 2 columns so you can filter anything that was made by in 2023. You want to exclude it. Now I cannot exclude it in here. One way to do that is just to split this string into the 3 main components and then deal with it as a list. Remember the list that we talked about last time. Let's get started with batch ID. I printed batch ID in here, and it's telling me that it's batch hyphen 2024 hyphen 007. Now I wanted to take this value. Now this is the value. Let's just take it in here. I'll take this value and try to split it, as I said, 3 parts. What would be the best way to split it? I can see that there is this hyphen is shared among them. So the way to do that, you can just use dot split, open parentheses. What's the keyword that you want to split based on? I'll just, between double quotation, I will say hyphen. Print, you can see this has been split into a list and 3 components within this list. Now let's just save it into a function, into a variable. Let's call this variable parts. Parts equals this batch. Now it's not printing because I need the printing statement. Let's just print parts. As you can see, if you wanted to see what's the output or what's the results that's saved in parts, easy, just print it. Now I'm done, I can just delete it. Now I'm done with parts. I wanted to retrieve just the year. So I can just do print year. Remember, you can use the F like this, and I will add the F at the beginning, or use the comma. Now, what's the year? So we said it's parts. And you remember, if I want to retrieve the first one, it's index 0, 1, 2. Now I can just say I wanted 1. And you can see year is 2024. Of course, you can do it like this, and you just put it, because we are still learning about this. So you can remove the F, just close this double quotation, put it like this, and then boom, you have the same results. Just need to remove this. Both of them are correct. Now, in this way, I extracted the year by using this split. But yeah, so this is split. Let's go to this metformin drug number 3. I will take this row and then try to split it into the separate words that we have. Now, what's the name of our variable? It's called row. Let me just first make sure I have row correctly, and it does have the correct information. So I printed it. I wanted first to remove the spaces, so I'll just do strip. Okay, I don't have any spaces. Then I will do split. Now, what's the split that we were splitting based on? Space, right? So you can just type double quotation, leave a space, enter. Now you have it as a list of words equals, and you can just print list of words and enter. So you are now dealing with separate words in here. Now, one other thing, like you can see in here, metformin is used as messed up. So I'll just convert everything so you can go and, like, let's say, to title. Now you can see it's now fixed. One other thing I wanted to mention in here. Now, if you are splitting based on space, you can just use split. Don't provide anything. If you use it, so if you are splitting only on spaces, you can just leave it blank. You do not need to provide this. So both of these lines are correct, because we call this one the default split character is the nothing, is like empty. The default is the space. Now let's see one more example. Let's just say sentence. Sentence says, welcome to our class. I added a comma, then let's just say this is the third class. Let's just add session. Okay, so what I try to do in here, let's imagine that you are dealing with 3-4 sentences. The first sentence is this, second one is this, the third one is this, and the fourth one is this. So what's this, the best separation in here, separator? The best separator in here is the comma. So I'll go and type sentence dot split, and now it will split based on a comma. Enter. So you can see it has split them into sentences based on the punctuation that you have been using. But let's assume it's the comma. Okay. Any questions?
دكتور
Okay. Yes.
يعطيك العافية.
الله يعافيك.
في أولويات بالبايثون من الشمال لليمين ولا من اليمين للشمال؟
من
يعني لو
الشمال
كان
لليمين.
يعني طيب هسه الجملة اللي قبلها welcome to our class مثلا our lower case عملنا تعديل عملناه كلها تايتل، كل بداية كلمة بتصير كابيتال. طب لو بدي بس أول حرف بالسترينج كامل لازم
the first هسه في أكثر من طريقة. Okay, our friend is saying جواد بيقول إنه you are saying that welcome, let's just put it like this, and I wanted just to convert the first one. طيب خلينا نشوف مش هذا اللي أنت بتحكيه جواد؟
يس هيك دكتور.
Okay. طيب it requires a special treatment. احنا خلينا نشوف هون هاي sentence. Okay. So the beauty of the string, you can deal with it like an array. If I say sentence of 0, it will give me W. Now I can go with sentence of 0 and just convert it to upper, and then replace it with the upper. Now sentence of 0 equals sentence of 0. String does not support item assignment. Let me just see. هاي صارت in the upper. Sentence. It's welcome. Sentence of 0. ليش it doesn't accept this? Whenever I have an error, I can just click explain the error. It will find me exactly the exact solution here, but I thought I can do this. Sentence of 0. You cannot change individual characters directly, starting with the mutable Python. You need to create a new string by concatenating. Okay. One way to do this is, okay, I cannot change. Once I declare a variable in here of type string, I cannot change it, but this is what Python is like. The AI Gemini is telling me what I can do. I can do this. So it's providing me with suggestion in here. Well, you cannot create a new string, but what you can do is like you bring up a sentence as I've done it in here, but then concatenate sentence, but then assign it to the full sentence. So let me just create this one. You can take the first one, which is sentence of 0. Okay, let's just go sentence 2. Yeah, let me print it. It's W. So I can convert it to lowercase, to uppercase, sorry. Yeah, so this is uppercase. Now, what I can do also, just take everything else after this and concatenate it together. So I'll just take sentence. And if you put colon, that means take everything. So now you can see W appears multiple times. So I can tell it just take from 0, take 1, starting from 1 all the way to the end. And this will create the first one. We don't have a function that will create like the first letter as an uppercase, but we use the trick workaround. Now you can just modify sentence and just return the sentence, and now it will have same. Does this make sense?
دكتور بس
yeah تفضلي.
المثال اللي قبل list of words ليش حطينا list of words؟
You will. تفضلي لينا.
هون الليست اوف وورد ايش الفانكشن اللي لها؟
ايش الفانكشن؟ So we use the 3 different functions. The first one is strip اللي يشيل لي spaces before and after.
title حتى نحط الكابيتال كل اول كل كلمه.
Yes.
والسبلت كمان نشيل الفراغ.
No, split will split راح احول ليها لاري، وهاي الاري بناء على ايش راح تحولها؟ تتذكروا كانت الكلمه metformin drug number 3 which is this one. انا شلت first هذول. This is strip. انا حولتها title case صارت M capital, D capital, N capital, T capital and the rest of them are lower case. بعدين عملت split. The split by default will be on these spaces. Does this make sense?
اوكي تمام.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, please feel free to unmute and ask any questions. I mean, now we are in here to learn, so this is good. Thank you so much. Fine. زميلتنا brought up a new thing, which is functions. And we will talk, it's the next topic. So we'll talk in here about functions. Now, functions, we have seen some functions so far. Listen, I like to divide our functions in programming languages in built-in functions or user-defined functions. So user-defined functions are functions that we implement them ourselves. We write the code for them ourselves. It's something that the compiler doesn't know about at all. Built-in functions, there are some functions that we can use. They are already implemented for us within the compiler itself. Like for example, this one is a function. It's called .upper. So I use the dot notation. Strip is another function. Title is a function. Lower is a function. Title is a function. Split is a function. So how do I know this is a function or variable? So functions in general, you will have the function name. And again, it's very similar to variables. You cannot have spaces. It must start with letter. It cannot start with a number and so on and so forth. Now, for functions, you must have the function name and square parentheses, the parentheses that you see them in here. If you do have the parentheses, this will tell me this is a function. Now I know how to identify a function. The function is something similar to a variable. However, it starts and it ends with parentheses, either open and close empty. So you see them in here, or they might have some numbers. Like, for example, this is another example. We have seen a function called split. This split, one time it was empty, and the other time we enclosed, we added space or comma. Now, what we have between the parentheses in here, we call them parameters. So the function can be either empty or it does take parameters. Now, the built-in functions are functions ready to be used. We use them in here immediately. Upper. Did we have to write anything about upper? No, we did not. Now, let's say Jawad asked us a question. He said, how can I create or make the first word of my, or the first letter of my sentence uppercase? So let's create a function. Do we have a function in Python? No, we don't. Now I need to declare a function. We will call this as user-defined function. So let's create this function. So if you wanted to create a user-defined function, you must start with the keyword def, define, D-E-I-F, D-E-F. So whenever I see def, I immediately know this is a function, a user-defined function. Now, one thing I wanted to bring up in here, and I think we mentioned this before, if I use def with the uppercase or lowercase, it doesn't matter. So the compiler will complain, will say, no, uppercase is different than lowercase. So you have to be careful. And this thing, we call it case sensitivity. So there are some programming languages, they are case sensitive. What that means, if I declare a variable, let's just, before I go in here, if I declare a variable, I name it as drug equals A, and I declare another variable as drug. I initialize it to B, C, D. These are two different variables. So I think we already talked about this. I just wanted to confirm it. So if I try to print them, these will be different. So this is a variable different than this one, because D uppercase, this means it's a variable different than this variable. Okay. Now in Python, it's the same. It does care about the case of your of the case of the characters that you are using, uppercase and lowercase, within a string and within your variables and functions names. 1. 2, spaces, they do matter. Like, for example, if I write, like if I declare a variable similar to like this, now if I add a space in here, this will matter. The compiler will complain. The compiler will tell me that there is an error in here. You are not free to use the spaces as you wish. Now, spaces before the words in here, they have meanings. Now, this is correct. I added space, compile. Now it gives me an error. So you do have an error. It says like the indentation error, like the indentation is incorrect. There are cases where we are using spaces and we are not supposed to use spaces. In this case, we are not using any spaces before. Okay. Now, def, I declared my function. I use the keyword def. Then I'll use the function name. So you can pick a name that's meaningful. I can use A, B, C, D, whatever I want. But in this case, first upper. So this is a function that we will declare. I'll name it first upper. In my case, I like always to use the function to start with lowercase and always includes lowercase, the name of the function. This is a preference. This is my style of coding. Now, we said you can use it either empty or you can pass parameters. In this case, I will leave it empty. Then you must use colon. So we have the def, we have a function name, parentheses. It can be empty or including something. I must use colon, and then there must be indentation in here. So you can see I left the spaces. So this indentation will tell me anything that's within this indentation. After these spaces, they belong to this function. For example, I can say this is print. This is a function A. Now I will compile my code. Nothing will happen. Why? I created a function, but I never used it. How can I use this function? Let's say somewhere within my code, I decided I wanted to use this function, so I can just say first upper. Oh, does it take anything? No, it doesn't. So I will just leave it empty. Now it will take and print this. Now I do have let's just delete this. I do not want to use this first upper. Print outside of the function. So this is outside of the function, and this is after the function. So now I try to print, this will be executed all the time. You can see I did not leave any spaces in here, whereas in here I left 2 spaces, sometimes 2, sometimes 5. Now, this is not part of my function, this line. So if you can see, whenever I run it, it runs correctly. Let's just add one more line before to show you that. So this is outside of the function, this is before. So it's not part of the function. So this executes normally, this executes good, it doesn't have any problems. If I wanted to make this one as part of my function, all of what I need to do is just take 2 spaces. Now it is part of the function, it's not executing. Okay, so let's remove this. This is my function, I declared my function. Then to use it, I just use the function name. And we call this, what's the name of the function? First, upper. And we call this function call. Or sometimes people call it invoke. This one, we will call it function declaration. Or some people call it definition. Or in some cases, I like to call it implementation. Okay, so it's either declaration, function declaration, where you are telling the compiler what the function does. It's a function definition, where you are defining your function and its contents, or function implementation, the actual implementation of your function. This is a function call or invocation. So we declared it, it's just printing something, and this is good, we are good, we are good. Let's declare one more function. This function doesn't make sense, it's just first upper, it doesn't do anything. So let's modify it. So we said we have a string. Our string, we will call it sentence. And our sentence is welcome to our data science class. Okay, so what I will do is I'll print sentence. Now I'll call my function. Nothing happens. I'll just write the implementation as we have implemented it before. We said sentence equals, I'll take the first letter, which was with index 0, then convert it to upper, and then concatenate it with the rest of sentence. And we will talk in a minute about how I can deal with sentence as a string. I said I wanted just to take from 1 all the way to the end. Now we'll come to our data science class. The first one has been declared as uppercase, so we are good. Okay, now I wanted this function to be reused. I wanted to be able to reuse it again and again. Now it works just with this sentence. Okay, so I wanted to pass anything. Like, for example, I wanted to pass this sent, or I wanted to pass parts, or I wanted to, sorry, not parts. I wanted to part row, parts, like make it process any of, make it general. And this is our goal, to make our functions general. So this is what I will do. To make it general, I will remove this sentence. And instead of writing the sentence in here, I'll tell it just work with anything like sentence. And within my function in here, I can just declare test txt and take this test and pass it to this function. Now still working as I think we have another. Let's try something else. First upper. Let's just say data science course. Now we can see it's converting anything that you are passing it. You can pass in here either a constant. So constant, that means a value that's not changing. So anything enclosed between double quotations, this is called constant. Or I can declare a variable. I just declare one more variable. I just call it test text2. I just say let's see, plus. Now, I declared this test2 text2. I will pass it again in here, and you can see it's working in general with any type of variable I'm dealing with. Now, you can see this is a user-defined function. We declared it. This is the definition. This is how we are using it. You can pass constant value or you can pass a value to it. Okay, let's try something else. What I will do is I wanted to provide you with 2 grades, and I wanted you to find the average for these 2 grades. So we'll declare a function. The function will be avg 2 grades. Now the function, I need to give it 2 grades. So it will be grade 1 and the grade 2. Colon, remember this is a syntax. How we are writing it is called syntax. This is syntax of the function. Now, what we will do is we will declare a variable called average, avg, equals grade 1 plus grade 2. And then I will open the parentheses just to make sure everything is good. And then I will divide it by 2. Then I will print the, let's just use F, the average of the 2 grades equals, and I'll just put the average. Okay. Now this is my function is done. Let's just call this function def, we'll just call it average 2 grades. I'll pass 50 and 60. Run, the average is 55. Are we good? Yes, we are good. Okay, let's assume I wanted to add 2 points to anyone, like add 2 points to the average. So can I do this? Let's try. So I want to say new grade equals, I wanted to take the average and add 2. So this will generate an error. Why is this? Because my function is printing. It does have printing. It doesn't do anything with the value. Let's fix this. Okay, so how can we fix it? First and foremost, I wanted to make my function, instead, let's just call it grade. This is function 2. I wanted to make my function, instead of just printing the value, I will make it to return the value in here so I can add a value to it and modify it, and then I can print it. So you can just print new grade. To enable this, instead of printing within this value, I will use the keyword. So there is a keyword called the return, and then call the average. Now I do have this function, have average, calculate the average, and then returns this average. Now this returned value we'll take in here. We'll call the function, we add 2 to it, and then we print the statement. Let's try. Now I do have it correctly. So you can say avg2 equals, if you want to make it fancier, you can just put it like this. So I do have avg2. I declare the variable, then I have it like this. Now, one person might argue and say, okay, I wanted my code to be clean. Clean, that means I wanted less lines of code in my code. So someone came in and said, okay, why are you creating a variable in here? It's easier for me to read it. Then he told me just use the return in here and just remove this. Is this correct? Yes, this is correct. So you can use it like this. No problem with it. Similarly, instead of just declaring one extra variable in here that I do not need, just use it in here. Remove this. Can you do this? Yes, I can. Okay, someone else wanted to make another argument saying, why are you using this within the printing statement and declaring one more variable? So I just declared it. So I'm using how many lines? 3 lines now. Whereas in here, I use 6 lines. Is this correct? Have correct. This one is correct. You will see I use this second style. I try to declare less number of variables. It's totally fine. Either you go with this or you go with that. Are we good so far? Okay, so let's try something else. Now, this is, I'm still within the function. I left a space and I said print excellent job. Enter. Call your function is not printing excellent job. Why? Now, one rule in here that we will discuss is anything after the return statement, anything after the return statement within the function will be ignored. So this line is after the return statement. So this line will be ignored. Okay, so anything after the return statement will be ignored. Let's try one other example. Okay, in this example, what we will do is I will see if the student's grade is above 90, I will say excellent. If it's less than 90, I will say good job. So def, let's just call it grade evaluation, and we will pass the grade column. And we said if the grade is above 90%, if grade is greater than or equals 90, remember that we talked about greater if statement. I wanted to see, for example, line or eval equals nothing. So I declared the variable, I started it with nothing. Now eval in here, we said we'll say excellent. Otherwise, else, we need colon and eval will be good job. Now I wanted to make sure that I return this value, so I'll just use return eval. Let's call this function print grade eval. I used 80. I used one time 90. The other time I used 100. Now we expect to see excellent, sorry, good job, excellent, and excellent. And this is what we have seen. Good job, excellent, excellent. Someone wanted to use this in less number of lines of code. So let's just try to write it in less number of lines of code. So the first thing they said, okay, let's set the default to be good job. So started good job. Then if it's not good job, then it will become excellent. And then the evaluation will be returned. So I remove the excellent, the else. It's the same results. Someone else wanted to say, no, I can write it in less number of lines of code. They said, instead of this, I can go in here. Ziad said, if you get to the return statement, it will ignore anything after the return statement. So I do have evaluation is good job. It will enter the grade. Is it greater than 90? If yes, it will print excellent, return excellent. That's it, I'm good to go. Otherwise, if it's not 90, it will return eval. So let's try to run it. Provides me with the same results. Someone else said I wanted to use much less number of lines of code because I wanted to make it more readable. So he said, let's just put it like this. Def grade level, grade. If the grade is greater than 90, return excellent. Otherwise, just go to the good job. So what I'm trying to say in here, you can see we wrote the same, implemented the same function 1, 2, 3, 4 different ways. All of them are correct. So if you see code written like this, so this is valid, and this is valid. In other words, I have 10 people in this classroom. Each one of us will implement or write the code different than other people. So this is something I wanted to emphasize on. So if I implement a code different than how you implemented it or how you coded it, that doesn't mean mine is correct or yours is correct. Both of them are correct. Let's write one more function. I wanted to create a function. We will call it calculate dose. If calc dose, And let's calculate those. I need to know the weight in kilograms. And I wanted to know what's the dose per kg, kilogram. So this is my function. My function will calculate the total equals, it's the weight in kilograms times the dose per kilogram. Now I will return total. And I can call the function, calculate dosage. And you can pass values. Like, for example, you can just say the weight is 70 and it's 15. It's printing. This is the dose. Now I wanted to use it multiple times. I have 15 different patients. I wanted to take these patients. One time I have one with 80, one with 120, 15. This one will be 16. I have someone else with weight of 50. So you can see these are the dosage for every one of them. So you can add also, make it more beautiful, just say patient 1, patient 2, patient 3, and this is what they have. What else? So these are some examples that we can go with. For example, I wanted to, I do have some examples in here. Any questions so far? Any questions? Okay, so